What's up guys, it's your boy Killer Rap here with Hip Hop Science, and today I'm going to be addressing a very interesting and important question. Why are there not more lyricists in hip hop? Now, I love me some mainstream hip-hop, I love me some 21 Savage, I love me some Migos, it's a lot of fun to listen to, but by no stretch can you really call them lyricists as such. I think in a given generation, maybe one or two, maybe three lyricists pop up, but for every lyricist there's like 4 or 5 just general, I don't even know what to call them at this point, poppy rappers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just want to, I got to wondering, why exactly is that discrepancy there? Why is there not just a bigger presence of lyricists? And to answer that question, I came up with a theory. It's called the listener's hierarchy, and basically it says that people who listen to hip-hop tend to prioritize the sonic, simpler elements over the more complex lyrical ones. That almost sounds trivial, right? But I mean, when I say elements of hip-hop, I break it down into 5 categories. That includes the instrumental, the flow, the delivery, the lyrics, and the rhymes. Now, what I wanted to do is figure out, of these elements, what do people really hear first and what do they prioritize? And when I say prioritize, I just mean what do they process first and think about first. And to get this information, I went out and surveyed a bunch of hip-hop listeners. These included people from the Hip Hop Head subreddit, from the Chopper Discords, just my own personal friends, just people that I know that listen to hip-hop. And the results were quite interesting. What you're seeing here is the result of a survey of over 100 people where I asked them to rank these 5 elements in the order that they hear it first. Now, this is not necessarily what's most important to you. This is simply, when you listen to a song, what do you listen to first? What do you pay attention to first? And the results were overwhelmingly that the instrumental and the flow are the main things people listen to. Look how significantly higher those 2 scores are over the other 3 elements. Now, delivery I thought would actually be higher overall, but at the end of the day, I do understand that it's more of a contextual thing. Flow is a rhythmic thing that's like more inbuilt to us. Instrumental, something that again is just very rhythmic, it's more all-encompassing. I understand that the other 3 elements are a little bit more subjective, but the instrumental and flow, they're just way up there. Now, these scores are normalized relative rankings, so the gap between a given set of scores is basically how much more one is prioritized over the other. Instrumental is way up there, and obviously we see that the people in mainstream hip-hop are taking this to heart. They're absolutely optimizing these first 2 elements. Instrumental and flow is the name of the game when it comes to someone like the Migos, someone like 21 Savage, someone even like Kodak Black. A lot of these guys who just flow their asses off and the beats are fire. Now, I got to wondering, all of the greatest rappers in history tend to have been lyricists, right? Like, to be considered one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all time, most of the time you have to be a great lyricist and have all the other stuff as well. But here, according to this thing, lyrics are only 4th on the list. It's not even that important. So I went ahead and wondered, I'm like, okay, what's important to people? What do people actually think is important? And not necessarily what they hear first, but rather what they prioritize when trying to evaluate an artist. And so I'm like, oh, lyrics gotta come up high on this list, right? Okay. So I went ahead and did that survey. So here are the results of that, and let me know what you think. Honestly, I was so shocked when I saw this. Lyrics are still 4th on the list. People still prioritize flow and instrumentals. Granted, they've switched places. It turns out a good flow is the most important thing in most people's eyes. But lyrics are still way down there on the list. So it absolutely blew my mind that the average listener, even though it's like one of those 1% things, right? It's like one of those like art appreciation things. It's like you gotta really know what you're talking about to appreciate it. I feel like it's almost like those are the people who value lyrics, but the average listener, the average person, doesn't really care that much for lyrics. It's flow and instrumental. They're the top 2 categories when it comes to priority, and the top 2 categories when it comes to importance. Now, often I wonder, maybe that's related, I don't know. There's so much more that could be researched into this. This is very basic, but it's kind of just to get a sense of the idea behind this whole phenomenon, right? And clearly, the people who optimize the flow and the instrumental, and even delivery, because that's 3rd, and a lot of these rappers do have great deliveries, they are the ones that tend to succeed. Isn't that crazy? And I don't know how to feel about this personally. And one piece of insight I try to get out of this is to really look at is it really everyone that doesn't value lyrics, or is there something more to it? So I went ahead and checked that out. Here's what the results were. While flow and instrumental were clearly at the top, lyrics kind of had a more interesting distribution, because there's a high concentration toward the lower end of the spectrum, but at the same time there are a lot of people putting it first, and it seems like people are almost split about how they value lyrics. And in terms of priority, we get an even more stark difference, is that almost half the people appear not to care much for lyrics at all, while the other half seems to think, it's kind of important, it's not that important, it's almost bimodal in a sense. Now, from this we can see that there's clearly a divide in terms of what people value, but the one thing to note is that there is no such divide when it comes to instrumental and flow. They're always up there, and that's why I think it just makes more sense for these artists to be focusing on the instrumental and flow elements, because there's no divide there. If you get that right, everyone likes it. If you get the lyrics right, maybe half of the people will prioritize that and like you, I don't know. And again, these conclusions I'm drawing might be a little extreme, it might be inconclusive, but it's just my perspective on it, and it does seem to fit with a lot of my anecdotal experiences. People tend to prefer this how it sounds over what they're saying. That's just the fact of the matter, right? Anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts on this. This is my theory. If I have more time and more resources, I would love to dig more into this. I plan on reading about the actual auditory stimulus reaction time, the intrasonic intervals or whatever they're called, all that kind of stuff, to see what kind of things people can actually perceive first. But again, that's probably, I don't even know if that's something people have looked into when it comes to hip-hop. Maybe they have. Maybe this is like a super illuminati thing where people already know all this stuff. This is nothing new. I mean, in some sense it isn't, but this is the first time I've seen numbers put to it. So that's just my take on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think that people are deliberately only focusing on instrumental and flow when they can be lyricists? Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you like this, make sure to leave a like and a subscription somewhere over there. Yeah, press that button. I'll make more stuff. I make a whole lot of varied content, so yeah, that's that. A relatively short video, to be honest, but just something I wanted to touch on. Anyway, this is Killer App signing out. Also, if you guys want to join the discussion, make sure to join the Discord that I'm going to link it below. It's like a online chat group. You can just talk to me and the peeps about stuff related to music, stuff related to the channel, stuff in general. Share your own rapping stuff. I think that's a thing that happens there. So if you guys like this, make sure to join that as well. And yeah, I'll sign out for real this time. Peace.